Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD bodybuilder, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about progressive overload. In particular, we'll be responding to Greg Doucette's harder than last time philosophy. Recently, Jeff Nippard put out a video where he interviewed some experts in the field of strength and hypertrophy on how hard you should be training. Coach Greg then put out a response video where he said that the main thing that people should be focusing on is training harder than last time.
Coach Greg, and today I'm responding to a video by Jeff Nippard. It's called, How Hard Should You Train to Build Muscle? I thought I already ended the controversy. Harder than friggin' last time.
The core of his argument is that most people aren't actually training hard enough in the gym and need to really put in that effort first before considering all of the details. And all of the fine nuances to programming discussed in the scientific community really only apply to the vast minority of lifters. Today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of the harder than last time approach, and I'll share my views on progressive overload. I'll also be going through some nuts and bolts of how to progressively overload for people of different experience levels, from beginner to advanced. Now I want to emphasize that I respect Greg a lot, and I'm really putting out this video to open up conversation and share some more views on the topic. Greg, if you're watching this, I'll be looking forward to hearing your response. If you've been enjoying my content so far, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, and let's get right into it. Alright, let's start off with the pros of the harder than last time approach. I actually agree with Greg that a lot of people don't push hard enough from workout to workout. If you're not progressing over time, whether it's through sets, reps, or load, you're not going to build muscle. It's really common to see people going into the gym and performing the exact same workout routine day in and day out without actually progressing over time. And ensuring progressive overload is the most important element in hypertrophy programming. So if you don't have it, you're not going to build muscle. Now, the other big pro of the harder than last time philosophy is that progressing from workout to workout is the fastest way to progress as a beginner. In other words, if you add sets, add reps, or add weight every workout, that's actually the fastest way to get stronger over time. And obviously we want to be getting the fastest results possible. Now it's important to note that we're talking about beginners here. Basically people who have been training seriously for about 1 to 2 years. Most of the population actually does fit into the beginner category and thus are able to progress at this fast rate. So for them, it's actually a great simple way to ensure that they're overloading at the fastest rate possible. All right, let's move on to the cons of the harder than last time approach. The main drawback is that if you're intermediate or advanced, you may not be able to progress from workout to workout. In fact, some people actually define beginner, intermediate, advanced based on the speed that they're able to progressively overload, where they say that beginners are people who can progress from workout to workout, intermediates would progress from week to week, and advanced people might progress from month to month or even more slowly. So by that definition, if you continue training seriously for long enough, your progress will stall. And if you aren't aware of the more nuanced aspects of programming, you won't be able to continue maximized progress over time. The other con of this approach is that there's a risk of overuse injury if you push too hard. Again, this doesn't apply to a lot of people who aren't actually pushing themselves hard enough, but if you are and you're trying to overcome chronic aches and pains to squeeze out that last rep or add that extra amount of weight, you might eventually run into injuries. All right, now let's move on to my recommendations for progressive overload. My stance is that for optimal progress for building muscle, you should progress your multi-set 6 to 12 rep max as quickly as possible in a sustainable way. Let's unpack this a little bit. So what I mean by your multi-set 6 to 12 rep max is how much weight you can lift over multiple sets in the 6 to 12 rep range. What that means is we're not talking about pure strength here, which is like your 1RM, and we're also looking for progress over multiple sets. For example, if you went from 3 sets of 10 with 100 pounds to lifting 3 sets of 10 with 110 pounds, that's progressive overload. However, let's say you did really well on one set, but your subsequent sets dropped off a lot, then it's debatable as to whether you are actually progressing. Now the next part of this is key, which is you want to progress as quickly as possible in a sustainable way. You can progress in different ways by adding weight, reps, or sets, and in order to get the fastest gains, you obviously want to be progressing as quickly as possible, whether that's every workout, every week, or every month or more, depending on your experience level. How quickly you actually end up progressing is very individual and you'll have to figure it out for yourself. To get into some more details, it's debatable if the exact progression scheme actually matters for optimized muscle growth. I think that as long as you're progressing your multi-set 6 to 12 rep max over time, you're going to build muscle. Now, I do think there probably are some theoretically optimal methods to go about this, and those are being discussed in the scientific community. But for the purposes of this video, I'll just explain some basic programming schemes that you can try out for yourself. Note that how you progress will change over time as you become more experienced. Notice that I mentioned you want to be progressing as quickly as possible in a sustainable way. So just because you're able to add weight every workout doesn't mean you should, if it means that you're going to stall after a few workouts. You'll want to choose progression methods that allow for ongoing progress over time. All right, let's go over some basic progression schemes. As we go down this list, these progression schemes will provide results in slower and slower increments. So you'll probably want to start at the top and move down as you stall on different methods and become more advanced. The first one is single progression, which means you're progressing one variable over time. This is mainly used in the context of adding weight. So added load would be the variable that you're progressing. So for example, your workout might be 3 sets of 8 and you would just add an incremental amount of weight every workout, every week, or every month, depending on how advanced you are. Next up, we've got double progression, which means you're progressing 2 variables over time. This is a workhorse in bodybuilding. A lot of people do this. So basically, you'll choose a rep range, stick at the same weight, and add reps until you get to the top of that rep range, and then drop down to the bottom of the rep range and add weight. For example, you might start at 3x8 and add reps using the same weight until you get to 3x12. Once you can complete 3x12, you'll go back to 3x8 with added weight. You can also choose sets and weights as your 2 variables. So for example, going from 3x6 to 4x6 to 5x6, and then moving back to 3x6 and adding weight. Next progression method is triple progression, which means you're progressing sets, reps, and weight across a training cycle. This can get pretty complicated, and there are a lot of different ways you can do this. Lastly, we have wave loading progression, which is sort of an application of triple progression, where you have a structured manipulation of sets, reps, and weight over time. For example, you might start with 3x12 at a certain amount of weight, then move to 3x10 with more weight, and then 3x8 with even more weight. Once you complete that cycle, you go back to 3x12 with an increased amount of weight than your 3x12 was previously. All right, now that I've shared my views on progressive overload, let's close out with some conclusions. I think that harder than last time is a great place to start. So for a lot of people, I actually think that Greg's view is right, and I appreciate his simplified view on things. A lot of people don't want to get bogged down in the details and just need a take-home message. My take-home message is that you should progress your multi-set 6 to 12 rep max as quickly as possible in a sustainable way. Even if you are just starting out right now, if you do plan on progressing from the beginner stage at some point, you should be aware that different progression methods do exist, and you should adapt your progression scheme to your experience level. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video and leave me a comment below. I answer every single one of my comments, so you'll definitely hear back from me. In particular, what are your favorite progression schemes? Let me know below. If you're trying to put on muscle, check out my playlist on bulking, where I go through an optimized approach from top to bottom on how to bulk. If you've been getting value from my channel, make sure you hit subscribe and share the channel with your fitness friends so they can benefit from it too. See you next time.